Hi everyone, it's Alice, and today I've compiled a TBR for 2026 of books that I would really like to get to throughout the year. I'm not great at sticking to TBRs, but I do find that making them motivates me to at least pick up some of the books that I mention, and I just like making a big one at the beginning of the year to sort of figure out where I want to go with my reading. I'll probably get distracted along the way, but I feel like a year is a pretty long time, so I should be able to get to a lot of these. We have all kinds of different books in this pile, some of which you will have seen in other TBRs before because I've mentioned them before, especially this first one, which I have mentioned many, many times, and I still have not read this. It is The Shadow of the Wind. I feel like I just know that I'm gonna love this book, and sometimes when I get that feeling, it makes me like apprehensive to actually read the book because I'm scared that I'm not gonna love it as much as I think I'm going to, so I just keep putting it off. But I really just need to try this because I do think that I'm gonna love it, and every time I mention this book, all of you will tell me that it's amazing. It's a historical fiction mystery of sorts. It's set in Barcelona in 1945, where we follow the son of an antiquarian book dealer, and he finds solace after the war in this particular book, and he loves it so much that he sets off to try and find more works from this author. But when he does that, he discovers that someone is systematically destroying all of the works by this author, and when he digs deeper into why, he finds a story of murder, madness, and doomed love. It does sound very good, and it seems to have a lot of elements to it that I usually really like in books, and I'm excited to see what the writing is like. And I didn't realize that there are maps in the back of this book, but there are, and yeah. I think I'm gonna love it. I'm a little scared, but I think I'm gonna love it. Secondly, we have another book that I'm convinced I'm going to love. It's The Historian by Elizabeth Kostova. This is like a mix of historical fiction, mystery, horror, and fantasy, I think. And it follows this woman who finds a book in her father's library, and in that book she finds some ancient letters or something, and this sets her off on a quest to find out what the story is behind these letters. And I think she ends up traveling all over Europe to like different libraries, and what she discovers is somehow linked to the mysterious past of her father and to what happened to her mother. This is a vampire book, I'm pretty sure, and a lot of you have said that there are some really good dark academia vibes in this one, which I'm very excited about. I think the thing that intimidates me the most about this is the length. It is almost 700 pages, and it's just a little chunky, and I'm a little scared. Also, this does feel to me like an autumn or winter book, and I know that not everybody cares about reading seasonally, but I love to read books that like fit the season that I'm in. I just feel like it makes it a tad better. But yeah, I really need to get to this one. I think it's gonna be amazing. Next, we have a classic. It's Frenchman's Creek by Daphne du Maurier. And this is one of those books that I've had for ages. And I'm trying to think back to the time when I got this book. I don't think that I looked into what it was about. I think I bought it because I was collecting these editions because they're very pretty. And I had heard of this author, so I was like, cool. But I think I didn't look into it that much because I think if I had, I would have read this by now because it sounds so good. The story sounds a little insane, but in a good way. It follows this lady in London who is tired of London life, and so she escapes to the British countryside, and somehow she gets involved with this daring French pirate that I think the English are hunting, and they embark on some sort of adventure, and I mean, it doesn't really get much better than that, I feel. I also loved Rebecca by this author, so I know I like the writing, and yeah, it just sounds like so much fun. Then we have a book that I got recently, but I've wanted to read this for quite some time. I'm just a little late to the party. It's The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, and this is historical fiction fantasy. I think it starts off in the 1870s, but it spans a few decades, I think. For a book that I've wanted to read for a good while, I don't actually know that much about this. I know that it follows a circus that appears out of nowhere. It's only open at night, and we follow, I think, two magicians who are rivals that work at the circus and things get a little bit complicated when I think they fall for each other. A lot of people really like this book and it does sound like a magical read, so I'm excited to finally try this. I'm also just excited to read something from this author because this will be my first book by her. I think I do have another one of her books on my shelves, but I think I want to read this one first. We have more historical fiction fantasy with this one. This is The Scholar and the Last Fairy Door by H.D. Parry, and this just sounds perfect for me. It's set in the 1920s in England at this secret magical academy, and our main character has like clawed her way into the school even though she doesn't really fit in and she's very much an outsider, but she really wants to go to the school to find a cure for her brother, who is a survivor of a fairy attack that happened during the First World War. I think after the attack, all of the fairy doors were sealed, and so they're closed, and our main character, when she gets to the school, she falls in with a group of friends, and she finds herself in this new world of like magical aristocrats, but then it all falls apart when I think they do some sort of experiment, which goes horribly wrong. I love books with fairies, and I love books with an academic setting, so this just sounds perfect for me. I also love books set in the 1920s, so this just has a lot of elements to it that I think I'm gonna love, and I've seen a lot of good reviews for this, and I think some of you have mentioned that this was your favorite read of last year, which makes me very excited. I think that there are pirates in this next one as well. Maybe this year will be my year of reading pirate books. I feel like I haven't read that many of them, and I love a good adventure story, and pirates are fun to read about, so maybe I should get more into it. If any of you have any pirate book recommendations, let me know. I don't think this book actually follows pirates though, but they appear in the story. It's Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. I think this leans a little bit like cozy fantasy, and it follows a girl who has grown up on this island, and she's had a very happy life. She lives with her father, and she has this best friend, but then I think the father ends up taking that best friend on some sort of voyage, and disaster strikes, and so our main character goes off to try and find them. She sneaks on a ship as a stowaway, and I think she's trying to find this sorceress who might be able to help her. And off we go on this adventure, and it just sounds really good. I've heard a lot of good things about this book as well, so I'm very excited to read this one, and yeah, I have a good feeling about this. This next one is also cozy fantasy. It's Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones, and the Ghibli adaptation of this book is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I do think that this book is a little bit different, and reading the book is always different than watching a movie, but I'm excited to see what this is like. It follows a main character who unfortunately gets cursed by this witch, and this curse turns her into an old lady, and she has to seek out this wizard who's infamous named Howl to try and find a cure. And off we go on this adventure to try and fix this thing. And I really hope that I like this one because I know that there are two other books. I think it's like a trilogy, and those look really good as well. It's always interesting to read a book after you've seen the movie. I feel like it can sort of go both ways, but I'm excited to try it and see. I do know that a lot of people who love the movie also like the book, so I hope I will as well. Moving on to something with a totally different vibe, we have Vanishing World by Sayaka Murata. And this is a science fiction dystopia set in an alternate version of Japan where sex between married couples is considered taboo as incest, and all children are born through artificial insemination, which is already a very interesting premise. This follows a main character who grows up in this world and now lives in an appropriately sexless marriage, and I think like this character and her husband, they move to this like new mysterious city which is taking things even further. So all children are raised communally, all adults are considered mothers, and I think that men can also get pregnant somehow. And I think the kids, like, they don't have names, they're all just called the same thing. And it just sounds absolutely insane. I know this author is not for everyone, but I find her books fascinating. I read Earthlings, not last year, but the year before, and I just thought it was such an interesting book. I know that some people hate that book, and that's totally fair, but there is something about the way this author writes that just really challenges my thinking, and I think that the themes that she explores is just really interesting and kind of like insane. She takes things really far, and I just think it's fascinating. So I don't really know what to expect from this, but I'm sure it's gonna be wild. Another classic I have in my little stack is The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, and I kind of can't believe that I've never read this book. I think when I was growing up, somehow this book just passed me by, and this past summer I was in a bookshop with a friend and they were scandalized that I hadn't read this book, so of course I had to get it. I don't know that much about what this book is about, and I kind of don't really want to know. I just want to go in and see what I find. But I do think that the story follows a woman who has some sort of breakdown, and I've heard that the writing is like very intense and emotional, which I'm interested in. And I think I'm gonna like it because I love character driven stories, and it is interesting to see a character have a breakdown. And I'm just excited to read this as well so that I also know what people are talking about when they talk about this book. Then we have this book. This is Lincoln and the Bardo by George Saunders. And this is again one of those books that I just feel like I'm really gonna like, so I keep putting it off, but I really just need to read this one. It sounds so interesting to me, and this author is coming out with a new book this year that I am very interested in reading, but I really should read this first. The whole story of this unfolds during a single night in a graveyard in 1862, and I think we follow Lincoln, who has lost his son, and he is like deep in grief and he's really struggling with this, and I think that this has some like fantasy or magical realism elements, so I don't know if there are ghosts or what's going on, but I just feel like the premise of that sounds so interesting to me. I also love books set in graveyards, and I love graveyards in general, and I just have a feeling about this. It does say a ghost story on the back here, so I'm guessing there are ghosts in this. And I also love the cover of it, and I just feel like it's gonna be perfect. I also really like the cover for this next one, even though it's very simple. It's The Elegance of the Hedgehog by Muriel Barbery, and this is set in this apartment building in Paris where we follow two characters. One is a 12-year-old girl who has decided to commit suicide, and the other is the concierge of the building who, despite outward appearances, loves art and philosophy. And I think the story is about what happens when this Japanese wealthy man moves into the building and is able to see these characters for who they really are. It just sounds like a very interesting story to me, and this is also translated from French, and in recent years I've had some really good luck with French translations, so I want to read more of them. Speaking of French translations, I also have this one. This is Forgotten on Sunday by Valérie Perrin, and this author wrote one of my favorite books ever, Fresh Water for Flowers, and I loved that book so much and I think about it all the time, so I just want to read something else by her. This follows a 21-year-old woman whose parents are dead, and so she lives with her grandparents, and she works as a carer in a retirement home, and she has this connection with this older woman in that retirement home who's almost like 100 years old, and through their friendship they sort of reveal their stories to each other. I love books about friendship, and I actually really like it when a book is about a friendship between someone who's quite young and someone who is very old. I just think it's interesting, and I'm so excited to see the stories of these characters, and I just know that this author, with her writing, is gonna do such a good job with it. Then I want to read The Once and Future Witches by Alix E. Harrow, because Starling House was one of my favorite reads of last year. I love that book and I want to read more from this author, and all of you have told me that this is fantastic. It's set in 1893, in a time when there is no such thing as witches anymore, and we follow three sisters who join the suffragette movement, and they are pursuing different ways of like furthering their cause, and I think in pursuing different ways they stumble upon witchcraft, and so they explore that, which obviously, you know, the people who are oppressing them are not very happy about that. I love a witch book, I love historical fiction, and I love books about siblings, especially sisters, so this I just think is gonna be glorious, as it says on the back here. I also already know that I like this author's writing, so yeah, I'm super excited about this. I think it's gonna be amazing. Lastly, we have a book that I actually haven't hauled yet because I just got it because so many people loved this book last year, and I've been eyeing this since it came out and I just couldn't help myself. I just need to read it. It's The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. This is a historical fiction horror book, and it starts off with this diary of a pastor from 1912 being found in a wall in 2012, I think. And what is unveiled in this diary is the massacre of this indigenous tribe. And I think part of the diary are these confessionals from a particular person or creature or something who's referred to as immortal. So I'm wondering if that like creature is a vampire or that person is a vampire. But I don't really know. I don't really know what to expect from this, but the setup of the story sounds so interesting. And I've just heard so many things, and it's one of those books that I can't get out of my mind, so I just have to try it. And I think it's gonna be pretty dark, but hopefully I will like it. That was the last book in my stack, and I mean, I have a lot of other books that I would also like to read. My TBR is massive, but right now these are the books that excite me the most. I am a mood reader, so I never really know what direction I'm going in. I just sort of go with the flow. I go where the wind takes me, and I'm just, you know, fingers crossed that the wind takes me in the direction of these ones. I would love to know if you have any exciting books on your TBR for the new year. And as always, thank you very much for hanging out with me today, and I will see you soon. Bye!